Hi there, I'm Pat Baer. Welcome to my anime club. Every other Monday I put up a new video where I explore something from the world of anime, be it a preview of upcoming shows or a review of the past season, or maybe just like some kind of sub-genre that I'm interested in, or a particular like topic from the world of anime that I'm like, you know what, I want to do a deep dive on this. Um, a couple videos ago, I took a look at some anime premises that were weird, but I still enjoyed them. Because the thing is, in anime, there are a lot of shows out there. And I don't watch all of them, but I do watch a lot of them. And some of them I think are weird. And so I want to, give a kind of spotlight on that. Shine a bit of a light on those weirdo shows that I still think are cool. Now, in the world of manga, which we'll be talking about tonight, or today, or whenever you're watching this, there's a lot more weird stuff because the barrier to entry in manga is lower than anime. Manga can be one person. One person can do all of the art and all of the writing, or a team of two. And with self-publishing, you can just get your ideas out there. Or maybe you wrote a web novel and then that became a light novel and then that became a manga and you didn't even have to do anything. You just wrote it before and someone else went to the trouble of adapting that material. So you can get weirder with it. The many series, what we're doing, 6 series that I'll be talking about today, I have read very little of it. I've read a couple of one and a lot of one, and then some I haven't. I just did some research. I asked some people to give recommendations for some of the weirder manga out there. So this is not saying you should go out and check any of these out, but if they appeal to you, why not take a look? And so let's talk about our first one. We got, of course, manga with weird premises. Here's the name of it. You can see right there. Let's get into the first one, and I have to read these names because a lot of them are based on light novels and are a mouthful. Let's talk about In Another World Where Baseball is War, a high school ace player will save a weak nation. This is, of course, an isekai. It's in another world. It is one of, I believe, 2 manga that is an isekai about baseball. In this particular one, yeah, we got a high school ace. Is what it says on the tin. Got a high school ace, and wars are, instead of battling on the battlefield is baseball. And of course, superpowers and abilities. He's tasked with helping a weak nation, and he kind of turns things around with his incredible baseball skills and his cunning and his, if I remember correctly, also knowledge of like the fact that he comes from a modern world and he's in a fantasy world. I've read very little of this. I read a lot of isekai and I watch a lot of isekai, but I don't particularly care about baseball. And that's not a deal breaker when it comes to things like I'll read stuff that I'm not super into with the subject matter if it's told well. And I think this is told okay. This is not the only isekai we'll be talking about here, but I tried not to make them all isekai because there's a lot of, I could just done weird isekai premises. I could have just made that a whole video, and maybe I will in the future. But I only picked 2, and this one I think is fun because someone just said are there any isekai about baseball? This was asked on my streams not too long ago, and I was like, yes, there are. Okay, so let's get to our next one, and now we're getting into the hey, who came up with this shit? Gyo. It's a Junji Ito joint, so you should understand immediately what we're getting into here. This is horror. This is a horror manga series about people who are fighting against fish that came out of the sea that have metallic legs that are crawling around. Yeah, they got metal legs, and they're not instead of their back fins, they got legs. No, they're still just fish with legs sticking out of them. And is it part of a global, or not global, but a government plot? Yeah, there's some government stuff there. I don't want to spoil too much because maybe you're this is exactly what I want to read. This is the kind of horror story I'm into. But fish that had got metal legs coming out of them that and some kind of disease that spreads. Yeah, that sounds awful. And why would you write that? And why would you create that? And why would that get an international release? I don't know. It's a weird premise of all the things to be scared of. Fish with legs. Yeah, all right. That's a new one. So sorry if I gave you a new thing to be afraid of. I have not read any of this because I am not interested in horror stories. Yikes. Um, I've read some of this and I've watched some of the anime. I did not include this in my weird anime premises, I should say, premises that I like or love or whatever. I titled that video because I didn't really love this and I never finished it, so that's why it's included here. This is Saint Young Men. You know, it's your usual slice of life story about what would happen if the Holy Buddha and Jesus became roommates. I don't. Did I say Holy Buddha? Buddha and Jesus are roommates, and they're just like dealing with like life, you know, eternal life, and also, you know, their differences of opinions and different thoughts, and also just like surviving and being chill. It's it's legitimately way more boring than you would imagine. Like it's not a fan. It is like trying to be a slice of life with a weird premise, and it is just like a pretty average slice of life. Like it's not incredible, but it is a weird idea to be like, yeah, what if Jesus and Buddha were roommates and just like hanging out, just doing their thing? I don't know. I find that very strange that that exists, but maybe you're just finding out about this and you're like, this is exactly what I want to read. So take a look. Um, this one is like it's part of a genre of like taking a normal thing very seriously and then just blowing out and building out. It's what I like about comedy in general. You got to Japan. Is the story about the struggle to make the national bread of Japan, to make pan bread, but like Japan, but Japan. Basically, like it's a quest to create the perfect bread, and it's like, what does that mean? And how do we take this? Like, how do we make a shonen, a young boy's adventure hero story about this? Well, you take every part of that incredibly seriously, and then also you build upon it. It is, as I said, what I like about comedy, the taking a very small, simple thing, making bread, and then making it like stakes, giving it stakes, and giving it like the kind of like the same way that you're like, yeah, treat it like you would treat any other shonen series, any other like young boy adventure, saving the world. Like, give it fucking stakes and go for it. And this is enjoyable. I've read some of it. I haven't read a lot of it. You can see in the photo I used here, that's volume 26. There's a lot of this. But I think it's like a cool, weird idea, and I do enjoy this kind of, like I said, this is a representative of a lot of stories that take the very simple idea of we're just going to make a thing, you know, like we want to make a thing, and then we want to blow it out and just go for it. I like that. Maybe I should check out more of it. Here's the next one. I have not read any of this. This represents the weird reincarnation subgenre of the subgenre that is the isekai stories. It's called I Was Reincarnated as a Hot Spring in an Alternate... I was reincarnated as a hot spring in an alternate world, and I'm way too effective. I'm going to say that one more time, because it's alternate world, and that's been throwing me off for some reason. I was reincarnated as a hot spring in an alternate world, and I'm way too effective. So you know how this goes. Guy dies, gets reincarnated in another world, is an onsen. He was on his way to an onsen, now he's an onsen in a magical world. And the thing is, he like boosts, he basically gives buffs, and it has great healing properties. So he has some regulars that come and use the hot spring. And are they all attractive lady adventurers? Yes. Do they show up all the time? Yes. Is it weird that he's an onsen? Yeah. Is it his excuse to be like ecchi or edgy? Yeah. It's just a dirty comic, and I'm not interested. I almost did the one about the vending machine, but this one felt weirder, so I went with this. But this is part of the genre, like, you can even argue, like, I've been regarded as a spider or a slime, or a sword. That's getting an anime adaptation soon. The guy gets reincarnated as a magical sword and gets picked up by a cat girl. These, like, inanimate object reincarnation are odd, to say the least. This one happens to be an avenue for dirty behavior, because yes, well, you're an onsen, well then people get in that onsen, and are they naked? Of course they are. I haven't read this. Maybe it's great, maybe this is fantastic, maybe all of the characters are great and it's only a little dirty, and it's not any more dirty than some of the other stuff that I have read or watched. But the premise is weird, and that's what we're talking about here, is weird manga premises. And I wanted to end on one that I'm going to read. I had never heard of this before I started doing this research. And if you're asking me, Pat, are you going to be reading any of these? Yes, I will be checking this one out. And it is called Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin. There's also a little girl that follows the dolphin around. You can see the dolphin in the background there. It's Dolphin Man and a hard-boiled detective cop. He is the detective, comes to this island to investigate a cult, which the girl is supposedly a member of, or like a priestess of. But then the cult had disappeared, and there's a bunch of mysteries that need to get solved, but also his partner is a dolphin. And that's just weird. All of it is weird. Every part of it is weird. But Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin, that's something I want to explore. I'm going to read this. I might even do a whole Pat Baer's Anime Club where I do a book report on what I have read here and give you a review. I don't know if I'm going to do a full video of that. Probably my live streams, I'll talk about it. My Model Kit live streams, which you should check out, twitch.tv/PatBaer, plug. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really have a lot to say about that other than like, I want to get into it. It's a premise that I'm like, tell me more. Some of these I'm like, yeah, all right, baseball, cool. That's an isekai. Sure. Saint Young Men. Sure. That's a weird premise, but people explore the like day-to-day life of famous figures. That's nothing super new. Hot Spring, of course, we're in post-meta isekai right now, and we're wrapping back around. We're going to get to, like, we're probably a year away from the subgenre of the trapped in a dating sim, but I'm the villainous, moving even more towards just, like, isekai stories that feature young women, which is where it started. We're wrapping back around there as we go postmodern with that. Now that we're getting out of but it's a little less popular, the male fantasy driven ones. And yeah, but also, like I said, what's up with this dolphin? I want to know. And those are some manga with premises. That's just 6 of them. In the comments below, I want to hear from you. What are some weird premises that you were like, Pat, I can't believe you didn't talk about this, or well, if you're a weird isekai, you got to write about this thing. You got. There were some that I could have included and chose not to. The isekai where it's Yamcha and the person, it's a short series, but the person was like, I know all this knowledge, and I think Yamcha got a raw deal. So what if Yamcha was great? That to me isn't that weird, really, compared to the other isekai I read. It's not that weird. Like. Yes, do I read too much isekai? Sure. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think I should cover in the next Pat Baer's Anime Club video. I will have in probably the next month, I believe, we'll wrap up the season, get ready for the next season. So, of course, that's coming. But yeah, I want to hear from you. What would you like to see me talk about here? Another moment in anime history? Do you want to see me talk about the state of localization and, like we talked about High Dive before. Should we talk about the current Crunchyroll? I don't know. I want to hear from you. I have a couple ideas of some videos that I want to do, but this was the one that was like on my list since I did the anime one. So now I've knocked it off the list. So thank you very much for watching this. Leave a like, leave a comment. I appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I make some stuff you might like. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.